When you ring the bell, we'll get the other one.
Yeah. Sometimes it says
It just dawned on me, and you must have known.
Isn't this good? It's very strong. Next weekend, we're taking him to the...
Okay, thank you. You can start.
Rolling.
Yeah, so now we are going to the 7-step Bodhichitta level, okay? Now it's renunciation is finished. 딱 먼저 단다. 조 단다 먼저 color다. 시에기 딱 단다 먼저 다 color다. 조디 단다. 굉장히 명한 둔지고 내인상 단다. 굉장히 명한 둔 마치 뭐지 제와이나 담보들라다 마시체 되네 팅진체 진소체 용원 참바체 아니 민제체 학성제 담아들라다 다 장주기 셈 대제셈이 이제 시기에서라 대인자 다디 나보다 듬바디다 장주기 셈인자 제고 차바체 이 조보디야다 담보들라 마시 팅체 진소 용원기 참바 민제 학성 다 조보디 귤라 두고 있어요. 다디 당아서 잔주기 셈 깨단들라냐 아니 균제명아 둔주고네 깨단들다 다시님지고네 깨단이 있어요. 이 용다디다 용다디 가르스나 빼나 다시님지고네 깨단디 어서 단다. 준준의 수만의 제가세 시와라의 수만의 샨디데의 수만의 다시님지고네 제 균제명아 둔주고네 시에디 단도 조제 빨리 아디샤이 수에 단다. 균제명아 둔주고네 로종단디 딱 하니 수만의 되는 용다디 되는 있어요. 대인장도 단다 다시님지고는 로정당 다시님지고 고대양이 롭스슈기 안 되는 것도 조르에디 유재명한 든지고는 달로 정당이 간대인데 조디 드라이 있으니로.
So our main topic for this session was to discuss about the 7 cause and effect personal instruction regarding training the mind for Bodhichitta approach. And so why they say it cause and effect or cause and result, because you all know there are 7 steps to attain the Bodhichitta mind, and starting from the first one, recognizing or cultivating the recognition that all sentient beings were and has been your mother, and then seeing them very kind to you, and so on. And from the first to the 6th is the causes, because the fruit of that training, which is number 7, the result, is like training the mind in Bodhicitta. That's the kind of result. And in order to get there, the first to the 6th steps are the kind of must go through steps to accomplish the number 7. And that's where they call this cause and effect. And regarding the mind training, there are generally 2 types of mind training approach for Bodhicitta. The one we're discussing during this session is the 7-point cause and effect personal instruction. And the other one is the one, the exchange of one with the others. This is primarily come from Shantideva's way of Bodhisattva's teaching. And I will also briefly talk about that method of the training the mind for Bodhichitta. But our main discussion of the subject would be the training the mind through the 7 cause and effect of personal instruction.
제일 문제에 따라 예중 창삼 양다에 따와도 저 순고에 된다데 내가 전부 주에 살했으니로 다 장주기 있으면 소소 율라마게 바이나 다 택신비 테나라 마츠바체로 되네 또니투비 셔라 율라마게 바이나 다 디바디 빵마토 대인자 탑다 셔랍니가 송주기 토네 조와라 베나 곰제베까블라 시네다 라우토 냠도 송제도 조고바나시 다 이게 산지지 고방 토벨라 다 탑다 셔랍로 탑스나 찬주기 셈라차 탑니고 탑디 아니 셔랍라에 또미두비 셔랍 대인자 예중월라시 아니 찬주기 셈니발라샤 양데베 따와 숨발라샤 예중 메바이나 먼저 코알레 타레기 삼로 리기 말에 찬주기 셈디 마게바 임바이나 다 셈제 탐지기 된도라에 식디 마상와레 먼저 먼저게나라 셈제반에 셴드치 양다즈비 찬주드 숨바나시로 칸이스나 소소기 찬주기 셈기에디 마셈제 탐제 이게 다 코발라 네디니 셈제 탐제 이게 산지 코발라 고바디 나라나 지기 있으니까 당들리베 셈델라다 찬주기 셈 숨고서로 다 찬주기 셈기 개버 직부기다 산지 고반 톱도 그래서나 대 톱도 말에 뭐도 가르잖아 이 디바니 하대로 아니 디바디 파일라 가르쳐서나 양다베 또와 동이도베 셔라디 메바 임바이나 미디바 인사 다 콘소 숨보디 남기 쏘고 남숨 숨고에 쏘고 되나디 인사를
And so, initially, I started this teaching by talking about renunciation, and next I'm going to talk about Bodhichitta, and maybe later briefly we will talk about the view, the perfect view, Yandara. And these 3 subjects are the most important for our practices and for us as well as for others. That's why Lama Tsongkhapa said the renunciation, Bodhichitta, and the perfect view are incremental for the Mahayana practitioners. This is because if you do not have a renunciation, you will not have any intention to really get enlightenment. And if you do not have the mind of a Bodhichitta, you will not be considered as a Mahayana practitioners, because the Mahayana practitioners are primarily you're practicing for the benefit of others. Your intent or the intention of your practices is based for the welfare of other beings. So that's so important. That's where in the ornament of a clear realization, Abhidhamma, Mundokin, Abhisamaya Alamka, Red Maitreya talked about that the reason we are generating the Bodhichitta mind is really to engage in the practice of Mahayana and for the a perfect Bodhichitta. And then Lama Tsongkhapa also mentioned that before, that having generated renunciation, having generated Bodhichitta, that too would not lead for total liberation or the attainment of the enlightenment. Without having this perfect wisdom knowledge, it's still, I think, for us be remaining in a samsara. You have to have this perfect wisdom or the perfect view. And for that reason, now you can see why these 3 elements are so important, and they're kind of without having one branch, it would not really accomplish our total enlightenment or the Buddhahood.
어딘데 선상 탄다 다 찬주기 쌤 계단들라다 넘버 2 다 다신지 고네다 즉 다신염제 수에데 가르친 거로서나 이게 고den지 쇼바이베나 지단이 정보린들라다 로아심제 탐제 대화되보다 dum을 메디오바데 소도스 랑다신 지버치기야 와라 대인산들 냥바 숨고 살아와냐 제수에디 소소라 딱 걸었다 나 제벌 짐바디 딱 숙청보였다 딱 랑리 신 소버 짐바디 딱 제바 있어요 바지올로 해들어 소소라 지 기부 되바디 소소라 숙청보여야 딱 신데 기부 되바디 소워지니 소소로 두부촌나 삼로딘데 삼로텔라타 제바 숨거 다시 냠제 수에도 냠발라야디 다 남바도도 켄냠바르다 수도수에나 대화도바 동을 메도바 냠바체 제바 수에디 소소레신 제벌 자치모 짐바 오테인자 제바 숨거 사르와 다시 냠제라다 코든 유미타 통도지 켜바이나
So, having realized the importance of generating and cultivating Bodhichitta mind, and then we're looking at the methodology of what are the methods for cultivating Bodhichitta, and we know there are two, and one of them is the exchange of self with others. So exchange of self and the create even-minded attitude. Sorry, I go back. So in Tibetan, Dashe Nyamji is first of all, you really kind of you level yourself with others. That's kind of the leveling. And then you exchange. So when we talk about the level, like what we're talking about here is we have cultivated the attitude that like I have an aspiration for happiness. All sentient beings also have the same aspiration. So we are same from kind of our desiring point of view. I desire for happiness as well as the sentient beings. So this one we're level. Level meaning what I'm after is they're also after. I'm no longer different from others. I want happiness, they also want happiness. So we try to come to the same level. And that's sometimes is slightly confusing with like impartiality in that like nyam in Tibetan. But here the more important is you are leveling yourself, in the same ground with the other beings. And Tibetan word is nyam. And once you cultivate this like leveling, then you engage in exchange. So what are you exchanging? Here, I think the most important thing is you're exchanging throughout your past lives. You have been kind of cherishing this, the self-cherishing thought has been the essence or the focus of your activity and mind. But in these practices, you're replacing that. Instead of cherishing yourself, you're cherishing others, the welfare of the other people. So you're exchanging that attitude, the attitude of your kind of self-centered toward the other-centered attitude. So it's not like you're exchanging your suffering with others. This is how you should understand to begin with. The main, I think, the concept of the exchanging is the attitude. The exchange of the attitude of self-centered with the exchange of cherishing others' benefit. That's what they call the exchange here.
다 다시 냠제게 다 고된 다 돌리를 쉬어야는 되제. 땅에서 단다 다 저거에 윤대명아 다 마시 전제 전소에 고는 저거 봐이자. 다 윤대명아 뒤기나네 다 마시기다 삼로 마탕 권란에 땅에서 땅염 가도 지금 로토바이나 야고였어. 했어요. 땅염. 맨날 간들했으나 마시기 갑들리는데 마스 심전 탐제 소소기 많이 바지 다 많이 중요한 바지 삼로지 코르고 했어요. 딩어서라 땅아서 나다 소르라 람산 카고 있어야지. 다 디데 삼로지래라 담보될라다 심전 탐제라다다 땅님 세매는 것도 세매시요 와라. 세매시는 땅님 세매 이 심전든지 내와다 되위교든지 심전든 동안든 심전든 동안을 배대와 심전든 예리차단 예나 특别땅님라 내버려 규질라야 세매 시바됐다 세매 땅님 세매됐다 samlo tangba yinba teni digi gyue chene ta 이게 마 심제 탐제 상기 소소였다 말 전용 인바들라 또서바 내가 숙제를 차고 살에 했으니까 근데 소나가서 단용 세메디 랑산다 심제 탐제 다 단용 드세니로와 이 고바들라 또 랑사고 올로라 따다스 레토 말했으니까 로 심제 탐제 잠불리제 로 심제 탐제다 집바치냐 레스니로와 다야 말에 nye 말에 가야 많이 보이는 근데 삼로레라 가고 싶어요 레스니로와 대인장 가서 단다 땅님 세명 공제 삼로 가래 땅하셨으나 땅아서 단다 잠불린딜라 소소게 파마지기 빙야 나라야 다 야레쇼 가다마 망고여로 왔으니로와 근데 손자 대단 대시다 소소게 빙야 나라 딘데다 가다마가 연구여나 대단 대시다 잠불리 심제던 소소 마가니 미카즈에 이 가르세나 지찬에 소외지 소소 땅이모 도숨 중에 미셰병원이 다 티모 이그노런스네 지라우도아 티모 중에 소바레 세라 대리선사 딱 갑들 tan당아서 다 유르라마도 숨삼로 땅으로 소소기 듄코란라 소소기 듄코란라 다 다이 넘버 지여가 소소가 남 유니치 통바들 남자 콘도상이 다 미지여가 대 삼로지 땅서로 네세 아니 소소기 15 자와윤이 미지 삼로 땅 아니 개개 메뉴이다 다야마이 녜마이 통나이 개개 마이니다 단도 땅님기다 미지 삼로 땅에 딘데지 숨지 공부하셔서 세네로
And so, having briefly discussed about the exchange of self with the others, and now for this session, our main discussion is the 7-point cause and effect personal instruction regarding cultivating Bodhichitta mind. And so I think a very important step before even starting this cause and effect steps is really to create an attitude of impartiality toward all sentient beings. And that the creating that or cultivating this impartiality becomes really very important, especially for the beginners. Because when we say we should cultivate the recognition that all sentient beings are, become our mothers in the past life, for ordinary people, for a lot of us, this is very hard to bite, including myself. And so, without having this recognition of the sentient beings being your mother, you cannot do the following steps. And so to make that, I think, a little bit easier step, I think the trick here is really to meditate on the impartiality. I think the creating, setting that the mental state is very useful and very important. So when we do our prayer in the for immeasurable, for immeasurable qualities, equanimity, and we say, may all the sentient beings become like the equanimity, like a quality. And here again, this is we are talking about the same concept regarding creating impartiality, this mind of impartiality. And how do we do that? A kind of initial practice is you visualize 3 people or 3 persons in front of you. You start with someone who you have some kind of hatred or some problem, what we consider enemy or someone you really have an issue with. And the next one is a very dear and a loving person to you, relation to you. And the third one is someone who's a little bit indifferent or impartial. You don't have a direct hatred or at the same time this attraction. And you contemplate these 3 people in front of you.
이게 미직대 통과도 또랑 가야지 리기도 하시네요. 미통과도 파에 큐니 마가와 삼로지 리기도 하시네요. 이 삼로디 간일레바데 따제 치셔 하시네요. 되네 소소지 파마 빈야도 봐 소소 세워도서 이 미질레 가오시고 코티 세마로 소소나 아트디 세마디 간을 땡고 왔으면 세워 심심부심 리도 왔습니다. 직들라다 다에마이 녜마이게 미디 간에 쳐봐야나 낭매치네 따야되는 삼도 숨리기도 왔으니 삼로 숨고디 랩사디 미치글란 찍으러 왔으니 어디데 삼로디 간에 레도 왔으니로 삼로디 간에 레셔왔으니 다 이게 소소 얘기 다 이 통과들 항상 콘도사스기 미들라 다 지단이 코 대화되어도 등을매도 미치빠지게 하러 왔으니로 소소기 가서 미들라 지 등을 질레와인 바이나 람사 등을 등을 타바디 나라마 지이 삼로지 찍리기도 퍼져도 마가사딜라로 마가사딜라 지 코치 모라기 강바진네 바이나 어디 시나 딱다레스나 삼로지 리기도 왔으니 이 가래니 온 질레바레스나 맞아 미시비 온 질레바레스니라 미시비 온 디모지 온 질레바레스니라
So that one sentence in the previous translation. So we have this attitude. Basically, our attitude, as what you call this habit in our mindset, is we always have this hatred towards some people, and then we have this attachment toward other people, and then there's a kind of indifferent feeling. And that's, I think, what the majority of us usually have in terms of our attitude toward other people. And by nature, we are biased. And so even people, I think we considered as a family or relatives, we have the same attitude. Our mind is always kind of making a judgment, always kind of this biased attitude, and which making categories of different people. So that's why I initially said you visualize the three people, someone who you really have a hatred or strong unpleasant feeling, someone then have a very loving and attractive feeling toward you, then someone a little bit indifferent or impartial. And the very important here is when you visualize someone, you have a kind of a hatred or unpleasant feeling, and as soon as you visualize that person, you have this anonymity, this feeling of a hatred toward people instantaneously arises in your mind. Then when you visualize someone dear or loving or family member, you have this kind of a pleasant desire attaching mind. And then someone that is indifferent to you, you have a kind of more impartial or kind of this carelessness feeling. And so what we have to do is, first of all, when you visualize this what we consider as an enemy, someone who you have a strong feeling, and when you have this strong unpleasant feeling, you have to investigate, where does this uneasiness, where does this kind of anger is coming from? That investigation is a very important step for you guys. And same thing when you visualize your partner or someone, a member of your family, when you have this natural attraction, the attachment, and you try to investigate that very kind of thought process, where does it come from? And as we do that, we will really discover an interesting phenomenon here. Is they're all coming from your mind, regardless of the people at the kind of outside level. Although we know all of these three people, they all desire happiness, and no one desires suffering. But our mind, we make a category, and our kind of mind doesn't go even into these people. And as we do further investigation, we realize that the angers, the animosity that we have toward other people, are they coming from our this ignorance? Dimu, like ignorance, or even the wrong view From that kind of mindset, this anger is coming. At the same time, when we have a very strong desire towards someone, if you do further investigation, it's coming from this like ignorance or the wrong perception. This is where I think the feelings, the biased feelings are coming from. And seeing that is a very important step.
Today sonza ta dinde samlo dille la samlo khare tangore sena pena yegi sedila ro dachi nyu mi ta soso gita tanda ji thongba da kondo sabe mindi ta kyawanga ji kemelan dagaro kyawanga ji kelinki na o kyawanga mo khoi ngala pento yegi resena nye insi bare reseni ro o dinde samlo tangsho seni ro sedila drag yungi ji doa ta kyawanga ji kemelan dagare mo kyawanga ji kelinki ji imbaina o sedila drag yungi de o kyawanga mangai 아마 인기를 빙게 이런 걸 펜토에 비례했으니 어딘데 삼로지 땅쇼 쓰네요. 다 세딜로 소소이 시고 가고다 직자와도서 딘데 미디레 세딜라다 소소이 자와도 이나 경험마들 이제 다디에 규르 비례했으니 달라에 규시 바랬으니 어딘데 지 공부하셔 쓰네요. 경험마들라다 다 인시 바로 세딜라다 이제 차바디 경험마 다 인시 바레 세딜라 저도 규르바디 경험마 아니 년데 가 인시 바로 어딘데 인기레스네 어디네제 삼로 땅바이나 오다 세딜라 자이나야 겨왕마 녀레샤 세딜라 녀네 겨왕마 다지사 다 카레이네 메나스 칼로르나마서 심제 탐시 차나 땅용 바레샤세로 용사디다 로 땅용 찍바치냐 레샤세네 차난다 수소 녀레샤 모두 다자와니레 다 다다녀 따야디 아니 수소 녀모토스 육군엘라네다 Tashi
So the next thing is when we investigate where this biased attitude is coming from, and as we kind of try to now set the real state to create the impartiality, the mind attitude of impartial attitude, and I think it is a very important step for creating that impartial mindset is we have to look into our mind rather than defining or looking the externally. When we have this unpleasant feeling toward certain people, and this is how we meditate. However, there's a catch. If we believe in the concept of a rebirth or reincarnation, then it's easier. This is because people to whom you have a biased or the unpleasant feeling, because we believe they've done something unpleasant to you or they did not fulfill your some kind of expectation for this life. But if you believe in this concept of rebirth and reincarnation, in their previous life, they all have been your mother, they have been, like the opposite side. They might have been, been very kind to you if you believe in this concept of a rebirth. And so this is how you really balance your feeling and reason your this uneven attitude. On the other hand, people to whom you have this biased attachment or pleasant and closeness feeling for this life, if you believe in the concept of rebirth, in a previous lifetime or previous preview, they have also done the same harm, even worse than the people who now you're really angry at. And by looking at it more than beyond this life spectrum, then it kind of helps you to look at a more even attitude. And this is how we kind of even our attitude between the hatred and attraction, by looking beyond this life and see, although this person hasn't been pleasant or been nice to me this lifetime, but we keep being born. In their previous life, they could have been mostly generous and kind people. The people to whom we have a strong desire, attachment, and also consider as a very kind for this lifetime. In the past, they might have done quite harmful things to us, like the one we could not bear with. having this kind of, I think, investigation and this analysis helps you to even your mind and attitude between the what we call enemy and our friend. And so we will do a bit of meditation on that and followed by question and answer. What's going to
딱 간절다 다니 파마스인데 삼도당 소소기 남주 랜다 투콘도사 데서서 동라이가 삼도당 시오 가고에서 데서 뒤라이가 가야 마이바 숨 냠도 삼도당 주었으니 등이 찍고 차고도 있는데 찍고 차이 삼도에 다 이마서 겨왕마마데 치마라 데레지 또 공부하셔야 되는 삼도나 가릴레기 됐으니 데레지 공부하셔.
So we're going to do a short meditation, 2 minutes. And you can see the 3 people in front of you. So, you know, someone you really had a strong hatred, then someone you really have a very strong attachment, then someone who's impartial or indifferent. And first you visualize these 3 people in front of you. And then try to use that technique of thinking beyond this lifespan. And see if it really touches or helps you a little bit to make a sense of where you should be impartial.
Okay, now let's start. Okay, thank you. Please wake up. Okay, then now take a step here. Then please, we have left only 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes. Please, question 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay.
When we are trying to achieve bodhicitta, what kind of obstacles would we experience on the way to bodhicitta, and what would be some antidotes for those obstacles?
다툰게 다치다니 맞아 담다 남녀는 튀긴드는 맞았지 가서 차우침비체당 맞아 칸도 기술 체당 소사드제 체디다 초라 파제면 유튜브 뜻가에 객도 님부 소디 살세네로 맞아 짐바타에로 우통라 짐바타에 약군조라 쳐버피 우통라 짐바타에 밀라 펜도치에로 아니 소소게 선언도 소사에 차고 표현체 면제 표현체 아니 소소다 어디네 지어로 니차난다 자주기 있으면 고멜라 바치 모양이 딱 녀부조 딜샤스리라 소사디 전시에.
So usually we engage in a lot of the merit accumulation activities. For example, we make offerings to the enlightened beings and bodhisattvas. We also do engage in the practice of generosity by offering alms and other things to the people who are in need. And we also do prayer and do recitation, including offering mantra and so on. So these are actually what we consider as the most important, not really antidote, but what you call pacifier, like a try to clear the path for your practice.
Like a preemptive.
Yes, preemptive. Or there's one word I heard from others that said, persevere of obstacle, pacifying obstacle practices. And so that's what we consider.
The Indian Karasana Pena, Jezoma Chimbuyi, Pena, Tengu Tower, Tengu Tower, Manyeva, Karel Hadir, Jambela, and the Kalam Society Chimu Cinema, Kamusuna, Sini. At Society Canada, Tunja Sunju Songa, Kuchabum Sunju Songa Pu, and it's Chagipa, Sega Maseporduta, in the Mendepu, and the Koramango Pu, the Chagitanda, Kamboy did that should do the Chagor Pu, and that's all the inside society, and so on 19
So the reason we make an emphasis here for accumulating merit and purifying our negative or unwholesome action is if you look at the life of Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa initially struggled to really realize this parasankhika view of emptiness, and he had a vision of a Manjushri, and he asked Manjushri why I still couldn't get it, because I think I'm doing everything okay, but still I have a problem really understanding this perfect wisdom. And Manjushri said you need to engage in the merit, engaging in accumulating merit, at the same time purifying the negative action and so on. So that was Manjushri's advice to Lama Tsongkhapa. As a result, Lama Tsongkhapa spent quite a number of years engaging in the merit earning activities, including he really dedicated quite a chunk of time doing prostrations, offering mandalas, and doing circumambulations, and so on, to really accumulate the merit and also purifying the unwholesome deeds. And with that, then he was able to really attain this perfect wisdom. And Lama Tsongkhapa did prostration for the 35 Buddhas. We do in our confession, 35 Buddha confession, and he prostrated 35 and Lama Tsongkhapa prostrated 100,000 times for each Buddha. So in total he did 350,000 prostrations.
He was in good shape.
Please, you also do.
Okay, I do that. I hope.
But I think you always pray you're going to your head is Any question? Okay, sure.
You mentioned earlier in describing the nature of the mind, and you used the words, I believe, clear light. And I was just wondering, because I've heard that before, if you could explain maybe from your heart what that is like, and other than just clear and light, so we may have a better understanding of that.
This would is a matter of some clear light door. But the ministers in Yongdon that you think that you were out the singing Yamyoto and the same conditions, no one condition.
Simply not special. You to
Really? That when you declare the 죽었음 봐. 또 거기서 그게 죽였어요. 연말에. that they Geshe ya which one
Simji Ranshi Weso, it is a good question, yeah. Simji Ranshi Weso was when the Masuro Ranshi Koranla, the Timaji Leva Mashu, Timaji Leva Mashu, Kesukora Timadan, Semivo the chip to Dedeva in Baina, Oma the Chudeva, Dedeva in Baina, could same thing is Sanji Hall Dragon Yomares. Mazutanda, Namkin Namkila, Dusajitoa, Namkila, the Koshebi Mowajiro, the Namki the Khaled Sanai, Suzuki Wugita, Senshi Yanamchuko, the Gurgur, Namki Moto, Tinsa, Koranshi Kora, Ranshi Samares, in the Karasena, Koigi, Namki, Neleche to Dosi. Kese Kora Divada and the same number the chick to Dedeva Baina, Divadi. Sanji yele chetu marwasin. Chuda oma jetu na chuda oma kaga soya midwasin. Wadila semi rashi wesa wasin.
So when we talk about the nature of the mind being clear light, I think the most important thing you have to realize is the nature of the mind itself is a stainless, a pure, clear. It's just like a clear light. It's unstained. So that first you have to understand it. And being unstained and pure, and then you have this like a certain afflictions coming along. And what we are seeing here is there is a possibility of separation between the affliction and the clear mind. But if we think the nature of mind itself is a stand, like putting milk in the water, mixing water and milk, when it's become inseparable, then whatever you do, you really cannot purify your mind. We talk about the concept of purification. When in nature of something is so clear and so pure, and then when it's a stand with another object, there's still possibility to separate them. So that's where this is a very important question. And for example, this omniscience, mind state, as we already have that kind of a quality there, and as we make effort and going through each step to getting closer to this total enlightenment, and we can see that our afflictions and this negative the part of the mind is getting lesser and lesser. That itself is a very important evidence that the nature itself being so pure, and when it stand, this object or the standness, it can be removed. If you know that, then you see it's possible. Enlightenment is possible. Purification is possible. That's why it's so important to know the nature of the mind to begin with.
Chikdi kesi semji ranshi weso mayin bayina kerangi samlo korala yagaji do duga di nyiligi do asi rawa yagaji duga di samzala pe soso gawe namba kenge ligi do asi semna yukibu kenge le digi do asi rawa samzala semna dugu kenge le digi do asi koini bodi semba chigne le ba ke mare sin rawa koni de kyun de yo mare sin yagaji sambada duga sambadi koni chikdu kyun de yo mare oma da chude wan de yo mare sin Teza gawe namba da megawe namba nibodi sosogi dombala teni o mili kondo sasha sen lamsa yawa che dugu doasi di karzena koran semdi ko gawe kapsu semdi ko kalorda mazu namjiru ina ere kare ina kisha shida ina ko mandawa jile di semdi rangshi koro wesebe o jile barisi koni chikdo dede wa yeba na teni jibala ya paya kyuni yo mara sen wa
Pena Yagduja ba.
Yagduja do.
Yagduja ba.
Pena kera rangi samlo nala soso ita gawe namba je sem gawe kabla samlo ju yore yoro odi ya dube kabla samlo ni do asen kuni ni bodi chikdo kyuni kala chudo oma je wane dede ma asen teza ko gawe namba de megawe namba de kaga yoba insa semla sobsho gaya do asen semla sobsho gaya na ko rashigi 왜도 칼로 당시기다 샘디바 야게 두유가 다 텔라데네 하고 왔어요. 그래서
So when you come across a pleasant feeling versus unpleasant feeling, and that I think the different feelings, the two feelings that you come itself is a self-evidence that the nature of the mind itself is not totally observed with one feeling. Because if the nature of the mind itself is already predetermined with a feeling or a kind of set, then you cannot change it. As we constantly kind of switch between the different feelings, and that's also kind of gives you indication that the nature of the mind itself is separate from one kind to another. If we always kind of stand and observe with one particular feeling, and then it's hopeless, we cannot change it. But it constantly switches, and that's also showing a little bit the quality of the mind and giving you almost like an option between the two mindsets. And that's also important to observe in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, then I have the 4 minutes left. Have somebody's question?
I don't have a question,
Okay,
but
okay.
I saw something one time a monk took a glass of water and he shook it up and he said, "This is your mind, how feelings, attachment, and aversion." And then he put it down and it got still. He goes, "This is your mind in shunyata." Like your mind when it's clear light, it's like just, like the glass of water still. And when you're like all emotional and you don't like, your water's all shook up, you can't see anything in there.
그러냐면 Geshe 지게 추려지 시람 가나 기온 뚜뚜야 버스단제 다디 디레스 모두 녀모 예배거야 추토디야 봐 다지 추 그냥 구경 마담제 조금 세련 당어차도 와 어디 배좀 차진을 이제 숨도
네.
춤모두 제 버지글 늘을 세련 추직 담아 찬다 셈란 뭐디레스 능경 말아도 다 추투그로다는 니거레스 내숨도 왔어
어디 때문에 내 칸에서 쭉 넘어주는 녀모 도승이 쭉 되어라. 주에서 녀모 도승들어. 녀모 도승다. 다소 쭉 사도 쭉 모르는 녀모 도승들의 샤스니로.
Yes, that could be, because here the concept is what we are stirring with. We're stirring with the afflictions, the 3 afflictions. This kind of really stirs the mind.
대화 소바데 소 셈네 소바데 동을 소바데 규두니 동을 두니 규데 소 셈니 소바데 세네 페나 단다 계산기 연계자 단다 보스턴라 bomblast이도 이 카트는 미신 문제 제발 녀모 도승 꾸네라 아니 다음에는 체에서 녀모 도승 온지로 왔습니다.
So what really stirs the mind is our ignorance, these afflictions, the anger, attachment, the wrong views, and this really causes all the problem. The recent terrible event in Boston, the people who are behind that, they did it because of the force of the afflictions. Before not knowing the good qualities of the mind, they were kind of afflicted with this negative mental state. That kind of made a cause for them to engage in this kind of negative action.
Okay.
And how does Buddhism help us think about what happened in Boston?
알아서 지금 나머지 원에 대비는 또 낭배치유도네 가지고 단데 보수는 내줄 하야 돼 삼다나한테 가르.
다 소보면서 다 레귤레랑이다 삼로지 땅으로 와라. 레귤레. 지단이 아리랑이다 사제 개춤벌에 이나야 코란도 인심지 보스턴을 미고야 돼. 그러와 데나나 보스턴을다 bomblast네 시중에 미디 겨우마다 레냐바제사 디기 저부데 탄다 민바레스 디 삼로 타임도 먼저 코즈이 딘데체도 콘지체나 편도 드라이큐는 말했으니까 레기브랑 삼었던 거랬으니까 디나라 치다니 밑에못 당에다 본다지 병원도 담바이나 시조데 타다다 뉴스나라 시디다 미카도에나 지금 모두 시민도 송거로 왔으니 이 시바디 겨우만 레지 사셔 디 시고에 레지 사셔야 디 저부데 민바레스니까 야 리미바데 칸이스나 겨우마 레디 사베 제부디 세딜라 마미바이나 사와닌 제요 말했으니 겨우마 레미요지 사사리 레미요 사베 제부디 코랄 미바레스니로 베나 칸드레스나 세딜라 미룰렌데로 세딜라 미룰렌데로 이나야 겨우마 레기 제부디 코 이짐 미모라다 야가 누가 있네 베나 칸드레스나 베나 시벤지 신간나 시벤지 답사나 로 시벤이랑 시고라 카초로 신간나 시벤지 답사와인데 코나모 소엘라 수르도들 진이다 다 부람다 다 맞아 나모 일이 신부 이렇게 되는 거 나모 차 액션이 요마로 왔습니다. 인자 경험을 내 누가 싸봐 인자 세딜라 가족이 야가쳐 봐야는 세디 경험을 있다 미규 레기 동안 미규 동안 지어라 미규 레기 제고디 세딜라 민고라 세인자
좋아지. 이제 대샤샤는 지게도서 또 제위는 그 예부산에 걸려던 예부민도 매버서 차로 매. 다보지 전에도 좀 논주스 참나. 그래서 어디 전에도 좀 레사브스 슬라비네. 타본도 그런 능무다도 좀 어디 아이스.
다이 나도 쉬어나 싫어. 다이 당아서 다지 녀지 뭐지도 왔다데. 다 생각만 단다 코로나 디치니디 경험만 단다 코니 다 차와라 왔다. 밤블라스 신입니다. 이 신입니다. 코니 딱 세미나를 가려면 거기다 밤블라스 맛이 세워라. 이러면 경험만 코지파 니네 제병 옵니다.
시에서
나 말 니네 쉬어나.
안에서 이제 콘테스 코너티에 거. 그런데 하려서는 자꾸 전예디 지게 시에는 제는 전예디 뉴메서 그 범죄 예디가 넣어줘서 그냥 네 점지부터 전 예디가 전예가 차 요도 와
딜리 말 코로나기다 경험만 이 레기 제고 동안데 단단 멤버에 딱 경험하지 뭐 밀레트가 땡겨 버렸으니 예전에는 고추도 땡겨 버려 왔다. 가인스나 딱 제고 독서되다 세대라 멤버로 어디네.
So the question we have here regarding the using the recent event as an example is as a Buddhist, I think our kind of fundamental concept of the phenomenon is a cause and effect. We say whatever the result or experience we're going through now, it must have a cause. If we deny that, then it kind of shakes the entire philosophy. So cause follows the result. And that's I think we have to apply to all events. There's no exceptional. And then people say how we define this. And as a Buddhist, one way of looking at it is because the people who suffered as a result of the event, people who gone through this a terrible experience, they also have some connection through their previous karma. They have some kind of event, some kind of negative, in their past life, causes, and so during that time that cause like ripen, what is the verb?
Ripen.
Ripen. So that cause ripen, and so maybe that cause ripen. So in the future life they'll reborn as a human because they already purified their negative karma. So that's one way of looking at it. And because although this is hard, because even I was asking Geshe, if this is the case, then it seems like the victim also takes the blame on top of being a victim, as wouldn't that be the case? He said, as a Buddhist, because in principle we say no result would take place without having a cause, whether this event or other, because there's always a cause and effect, or cause and result is going to be, I think, focus how the Buddhist sees it. And then, of course, another way of looking with the cause is some kind of a relationship between the people who place the bomb and people who suffer the consequences, because he wasn't targeting a particular individual. He didn't have a predetermined individual there. He was placing this there, and somebody happened to be there and suffer. But still, as a Buddhist, they explain to there must have some kind of a connection, some kind of a relationship between the two and the event. So that's how we look at it.
touching do 1 minute please take a 2 minutes 이나 가르쳤으나 배나 이게 몸 블라스팅이 미디기 데나라 티모타기는 참을 세고 삼로 여러 왔어요 이내 데나라 미 가시는 거 심이 도왔어요 이 가르쳤으나 샤나도 세 겨우는 랩 누가 메사고 온 게 디쳐 그래서 맞아 가지고 또 삼로나 참을 세고 삼삼로 이내야 미 가시는 거 시요 말아
Then also you look at from this point of view, people who survive, people who are not, people who survived the tragedy, and then if the bomber was intending to kill everyone coming to near this area, but then only 3 people died, and the remaining people survived. Then again, maybe these people who survived, their marriage, their karma is still what you call the karma in the marriage is still sustained. They still created this marriage karma and that keep them going. So that's one way of again looking not only from the victim's point of view, but if you look at it from people who survived. Again, we're looking at the karma, the previous life and so on.
Okay, thank you. So there's going to be 3 more. Thank you, Geshe. So hopefully everyone will come and it'll get better every time, deeper. And the question about the clear light, guy?
I'm just gonna like that. I can't hear after the identity.
A little advertisement. Every Friday night we have Thupten Phuntsok, who's a great meditation leader, and his meditations often go into clear light as a guided meditation.
Wonderful.
And then you hold that. So if you want to practice, it's actually good to study and contemplate and then practice. So if you want to practice with Thupten Phuntsok, Friday nights. So anyway, it looks like a few of the people left donations for Geshe. So Bodhichitta. And on behalf of everybody, thank you.
This is for you. You stay in over 100 years old in the world.
He wants me to be 100 years old. And one more thing, considering the sun in New York.
As the community is sunshine, the summertime, it's summer. That's how it is.
Yeah, the sun.
Heat.
The heat.
The temperature coming the sun on the head, and I'm really.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Dedication.
Okay, then we take the dedication, yeah?
Right.
Dedication.
Dedication.
Gradually, umsetzung.
No, you
Now
don't.
it's Sala Victor. This is.
First mandala.
Yeah.
Tashi Bugi Jishi Metocha Riyang Shin Degan Padi Sangye Shindu Mitegargi Dropping Nanda Shinla Chipasho Hidam Buddham Mandala Kamnimyatayami Gawadi Gawapu Sinam Yeshe Satsokshin Sinam Yeshe Jinhui Ramba Bini Etobasho.
Please,
Thank you. Please teach more.
More questions the next time, please.
Geshe, you please stay.
Please stay.
Please stay, please.
No, I'm not stressed. I'm going to his home.
It's so funny.
Tashi,
그런 경우에는
남들은 높은 차단하고
코너지 기술로 그래서 마법 가서 법 가서 여기 라이트 트레이닝 좀
factors I'm going to pass then please if you didn't understand then please ask
give feedback to your vision
Absolutely.
so I can improve.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
There are some more classes out there if you want to borrow.
this is for you
Definitely.